Good morning. With respect, we acknowledge the Nevada County campus of Sierra College as the traditional and unceded homelands of the Anishinaabe peoples. For countless generations, the Anishinaabe have carried out their responsibility as stewards of this place, originally known as DASPA. Sierra College commits to an ongoing relationship with the Nevada City Rancheria Anishinaabe tribe and their future generations, who are an integral part of the Sierra College community. Good morning, I'm Judy East. I'm the chair of the Nevada County Council of Sierra College Foundation, and we are thrilled to host these community forums. The foundation locally raises about $20,000 to put into student programs and support. We have, through our SAFE program, we have the ability to help a student with any kind of situation that may prevent them from going to school. As you know, Sierra College tuition is very, very reasonable, but that's not the whole cost of going to school. Students have their housing, their food, and so we have a basic needs center here for anybody who might be experiencing food issues. We support the student art show. We support the lecture series. We're in the process of developing a more active alumni association. So if any of you have ever attended Sierra College, please look over on the table. There's some information about the alumni association. We also have put 5 scholarships in place for Nevada County students only. And in addition, we support them with our SA tutoring for scholarship applications. And with 10% of the Sierra College population, we get 25% of the scholarships. So we're really proud of that effort. I welcome you today. Please, if you have not been on the campus, have a chance to go up towards the pond and circulate around and see what a beautiful campus your tax dollars have created. Thank you.
Do you need this?
I do not.
I do.
He does.
Well, good morning and welcome, everyone. Can you hear me?
No.
Not so much. Are we? Oh, there we go. Is that better? Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Cheryl Dell, and I'm your moderator this morning, and it is my pleasure to introduce Don Eckert. Don is the executive director of Pioneer Community Energy, which means that he manages their day-to-day operation and steers the organization as a whole. He's been in that role since 2020, but he's actually worked in the public power world for over 20 years and was part of the group that launched the Silicon Valley CCA, which is, of course, another public power group. I wanted to read you an excerpt from a letter that Don wrote to consumers because I think that it really sets the stage for who he is and the kind of conversation we're going to have today. It says, quote, "Being a community-owned, not-for-profit utility means putting our customers and community at the heart of everything we do. Providing our customers with electricity that supports grid reliability while maintaining stable and competitive rates is our top priority at Pioneer Community Energy." So Don is a history buff, and in his spare time you might find him exploring the richness of the foothills. Please help me welcome Don Eckert. So we're going to get right to it. This segment is going to have this conversation will have 3 different segments. The first one is we're going to spend some time just talking about who Pioneer Energy is and how did we get here. The second part we'll talk about is the logistics, what it means for you, how this transition to Pioneer is going to work and is working. And then for the third segment, I'll be inviting up Grass Valley City Councilperson Tom Ivey to talk about why he supported this move and his role on the board. So here we go. And Don, welcome. I'm going to just jump into it. How did Pioneer Energy come to be?
Great. Well, thank you. Can you hear me all? Great. Thank you for that question and introduction, and thank you for having us here at your beautiful campus. I do look forward afterwards to taking a walk around that pond. And we do have some some gifts at the table there, some very cool flashlights and pens, and again, just really happy to be here and get the message out. So, Chief, back to your question. So just maybe a little history of the whole, what we call community choice aggregation movement. So some of you may remember in the late 1990s, early 2000s, when the state decided to deregulate electricity, and some of you may remember it was an absolute disaster. And you may remember the famous line from Governor Schwarzenegger when he said, "Gray Davis, you ought to eliminate it." And that was the thought of, like, that's the end of energy deregulation and competition. Well, lo and behold, back in about 2002, AB 1117 passed, and it basically said that local communities could take command of their energy future through the generation portion of the bill, so the electrons that flow through the wires and the poles, that each community could have the choice to do that and take control of their energy future. Well, that passed in 2002, but a CCA really didn't form until 2010, and that was in the county of Marin. And they faced fierce competition from Pacific Gas and Electric. Definitely did not want a new player in there. Also the CPUC, California Public Utilities Commission, was uncomfortable with new players. They dealt with 3 investor-owned utilities for 100 years, and now all of a sudden these CCAs are popping up, and what do we do with this? So Marin survived and thrived and has expanded since then to being the largest CCA in Northern California. And it was a roaring success in 2010. Then around 2015 and 16, and I was part of a group that formed this in Silicon Valley, was a movement of many CCAs. So all of a sudden we started to form them in Sonoma, in Santa Clara, and right down the coast. And for right now, currently, you have CCAs from Eureka down to San Diego. And so it's been a hit. What the public has said is we do want to take control of our energy future, and we do want a choice. And that's really the most important word to get out of this, is it's a choice. If you want to stay with PG&E on the generation side of your bill, you have a choice to do so. So that's what this is about. It's really not about replacing PG&E. It's about giving communities a choice. And for those that stay in, it's about having a say in your energy future.
And I want to take a step back, and this CCA term you're going to hear a lot, or public power or community power. So I'll use that kind of interchangeably as we go through. But you said something really important at the beginning. It deals with energy generation. So let's take a step back and talk about, when I get my PG&E bill, what's in my bill besides energy generation?
Right, so there's many other charges in the bill that we don't control. There's going to be transmission, which is the lines to get the energy to the transformer. There's going to be distribution, which goes from the energy from the transformer to the poles that you see outside near your house. And there's the customer service piece of it, which is the meter itself, and many other line items of cost that would take me probably all day to go through the bill with you. But there's many other line items in the bill that are still part of PG&E that we don't control.
And gas. And I want to talk about natural
Thank
gas,
you,
because
yes.
that's a big part, certainly of my bill, and maybe a big part of yours. So what we're going to focus on today is just this narrower portion that Pioneer deals with. So let's keep talking about the energy world. So CCAs come into existence. How are you regulated?
Right, great question. So we didn't just, Grass Valley just didn't decide one day, let's have our joint Pioneer and we're off the grid and we're going to do whatever we want to do. We're highly regulated, so we have the same, we're under the same rules as every other load-serving entity out there, load-serving entity being a utility. So we have responsibilities to the California Energy Commission, which sets energy policy. So for instance, a certain portion of our portfolio needs to be renewable. We have an obligation to have filings with them. We are under the regulation of the California Public Utilities Commission. We also have very strict rules with our California Independent System Operator, which is the air traffic controller of the grid, if you will. And of course, we have our governing board, which is made up of, so our governing board is made up of, for instance, Council Member Ivy is here. It's made up of an elected official from every member agency we serve. So we're not making decisions for investors or shareholders that are not even in our hemisphere. Our board is made up of the folks that you have elected. And so that's a huge difference between us and PG&E.
And so, Don, one of the reasons I wanted to get into regulations, and don't get mired down in all those regulatory agencies or your head will probably, explode, but is because I wanted to pull out that the price that you charge is approved by a regulatory agency. That's the PUC, right?
Well, we have obligations with the PUC, but the actual rates that we charge goes through our own board, so they make those decisions. So we don't go through what you see like a very laborious and expensive general rates case that PG&E does, which goes through the CPUC, and quite frankly, it's a very untransparent process. We go through an open process. It's a meeting open to the public that Tom Ivy and others make a decision on rates. So you're all can be part of that.
Okay, because I think what people don't understand is just counterintuitive to be providing the same service that PG&E does, a very large organization, and to be able to do it for cheaper.
Yeah.
So how does that work?
Well, yeah, great question. So first of all, we don't have all the overhead that PG&E has. So we don't have 100 years of legacy cost. Quite frankly, I'm not paying for wildfire insurance and other lawsuits that are in there. And also, we have 92% of our budget is power supply. So we don't have the administrative and general costs that would burden an agency such as PG&E. Also, we're very nimble in our procurement. PG&E locked in many contracts several years ago when technology was a lot more expensive, and they went through these long-term power purchase agreements that kept the cost rather high. We've entered the arena. We're nimble. We go through a very disciplined hedging approach to keep prices stable. And we've also been, I think we're really good at procuring power and negotiating power purchase agreements to make sure that you get the best price possible.
And when you say procuring power, you're talking about on the open market, right? Because one of the myths is that you buy power from PG&E.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. So we do not buy power from PG&E and resell it to you. We are a load-serving entity like any other utility where we have to procure our power to serve our needs. So we're not just being a quote-unquote middleman with PG&E and then buying from them and selling to you. We procure our own power, and that's how we keep our costs low.
And so I want to restate that because I think this is a big issue, and it in some ways defies, I don't know if I want to call it logic, but it defies the way that you would normally think about this. So because you don't have long-term contracts that you signed at higher rates, and because you're buying on the open market from providers, not PG&E, but other providers, you can come in less expensive.
And it's a combination of long-term power combined with working with shorter-term market
And lower overhead. I don't want to miss that because how many employees do you have?
We have 18 full-time employees approved, but we also use a variety of consultants. But again, we're trying to keep our administrative and general costs low, so we keep a very lean staff.
And Pioneer's been operating for years, so talk about the communities you have been in before coming to Nevada County.
Yeah, so Pioneer was formed in 2017, and what we are is a joint powers agreement. And so if you hear that word, what that means is it really is two agencies getting together for a common good. It's important for Grass Valley to know that because as a JPA, if something were to go wrong with the Pioneer, and it won't, but if something were to go wrong, your general fund is protected. We are not supported by your tax dollars. We are supported completely by our rates. So just an important note there that there is a firewall between your general fund and being part of Pioneer. But we did form in 2017 as a JPA. Originally it was with Placer County and 5 other cities in Placer. Then in 2020 we expanded into El Dorado County and City of Placerville. And then very excited that we flipped the switch in January 1st of this year with Grass Valley and Nevada City.
Okay, so because you've been operating for a while, one thing that I don't understand is why local jurisdictions are involved in this decision at all, right? I mean, I write my check to PG&E. The City of Grass Valley has nothing to do with that, or Nevada City. Why are they involved, and what is their role?
Yeah. Well, their role is extremely important because if you look at the acronym CCA, it's Community Choice Aggregation. So the community part of it is all of you. Choice is being able to provide a choice between your incumbent investor-owned utility, in this case PG&E, and the CCA. And then the A part of it is aggregate or aggregation, meaning that the city council decides to join the CCA. All the accounts are automatically enrolled in, and then you can choose to opt out, which is the choice part of it. And that's important because one is we can't, for instance, only pick customers that, let's say, have high margins. We're not targeting specific customers. We take the entire community. But also it gives us the ability when an entire load of the community moves over to be able to buy the best, get the best pricing possible with economies of scale, and also supports local projects. So we have that load come over. We're going to look at local projects, which is something that Councilmember Ivy may mention in his chat as well.
And it's a little confusing here because the City of Grass Valley and the City of Nevada City have done deals with Pioneer, and the county has not. Or maybe I should say has not yet. But talk to us a little bit about that.
Right. So every community, if you're an incorporated city within that county, you make your own choice of coming over. So Grass Valley, Nevada City each had to go through a process of joining, and that process is official through the council, so that we can then tell the CPUC that this community now wants to leave PG&E, and there's about a year wait, and then you all come over. So and then Nevada County had also, the unincorporated part of Nevada County had to go through the same process. So we had discussions in 2022, of which I think we were competing with other issues that were going on with the county at the time. So we deferred it then to last year, and kind of ran the numbers, and I think where we stood with our current rates and where the power supply market is right now, which is a little bit tighter than it has been in the past, felt like the right play was to move it then to this year to restart those talks. So Nevada County is definitely on our list to bring over. We're just trying to find the right time.
But if I live in the county, I can't just say, hey, you're providing power to my neighbor right across the street. Can you provide power to me?
You cannot. That's correct.
Okay.
So, and we've gotten plenty of calls in the last few weeks since we've launched from Nevada County folks that want to know why they can't join. And it's just part of that process where the county has to approve it, and then those in the unincorporated can join.
Yeah, I think that makes it a little more difficult here because you don't just associate with people who live in a city, right? All of us have friends and neighbors who are in the county or some in the city, and some are converting and some aren't. So we're going to move to some of the logistics here, but I do want to summarize so Pioneer Energy is a public power, a community-based organization that does go through regulations to set rates, but because of the way you buy on the open market with lower overhead, without long-term contracts, you're able to buy for less money. you do these studies of communities and went to Grass Valley and Nevada City and said, we think we can save people in your area X amount. We'll get to that X in a minute. But the local jurisdiction needs to sign on. And the local jurisdictions of Nevada City and Grass Valley have signed on, and transition is taking place now. With one other addition here, if you don't want to be a Pioneer customer, you can opt out.
That's correct.
Okay, so to just try to put this, I mean, it's all very confusing, but to try to put a little bit of a summary on that, that's how we got to where we are today. Okay, so you can opt out if you want to. Why would
I just want to add too, that was like, I've just been speaking with Cheryl for a few minutes. That was a great summary. Well done.
I've done this. It's not my first rodeo. Okay, so you can opt out. So why would you opt out? You would opt out if you didn't think you were going to save money, but you think people are going to save money. What does the data look like?
Right. So for right now, Nevada City, Grass Valley, the participation rate is 99%. Meaning that most all of you are staying in and opting in. We're very excited about that. I think the message out there is the choice, I think, is very appealing for these communities, as well as let's save some money. And for 2024, we're going to have about a 12% discount to PG&E for the generation portion of your bill. That means that over the course of 12 months, an average household will save around $180. And the Nevada City, Grass Valley combined would be about $3 million savings to PG&E in 2024 alone. And it was essentially a $15,000 investment to go through the impact assessment study to join. So I think for Councilmember Ivy, it's a great return on investment.
And so I want to just pick a nit on the word choice here. It's not a savings to PG&E. It's a savings from what would have been paid.
That's great.
To PG&E. Okay. So there is some money to be saved in it. Again, a good reminder that this is not the only part of your bill. You also have gas and other things on your bill, but this part of your bill models that way. How is the transition taking place? What happens?
Yeah. So we go through. We probably have seen a lot of communications from, and I just want to introduce our Pioneer staff here, Gina Stasi-Vanacore, who's our Director of Marketing, and Lisa Delaby, who's our Community Outreach Manager. And you probably have heard from them over the last 6 months or so with various messaging that we've had out there about we're coming. We also go through, essentially how it works is that once we're getting about 4 months from launch, we'll get the customer accounts from Pacific Gas and Electric, and they have to do that because there's rules from the CPUC that they have to send over those accounts. So we get that about 4 months ahead of time. Then we'll send out enrollments 2 months before you want to before launch, and then another month before launch, reminding you of this if you want to opt out. We'll also do that again in January, and you'll see another postcard from us in February, where you can. Within that 4 month time period, 2 months before and after, you can opt in and out as many times as you like. But then after March, if you want to opt out and then come back to Pioneer, you need to wait a year. And that's really more for load planning and for the electric utilities, both for us and PG&E. So that's essentially how that works. There's really, for all of you, there's really no, if you just want to stay in, there's no effort that's really needed. That's why this makes it so seamless for everyone. You don't need to really take a whole lot of action to make this happen. The council has done that for you. You start seeing the savings immediately, and we all move forward.
And so the first time people will see savings is on their first bill. And I know there are a lot of questions about billing, so I want to spend a few minutes on that. So the billing that comes will actually come on your PG&E bill, right? You will not get a separate bill from Pioneer.
Right, and that was really through, when this was all formed through legislation, which then went to the CPUC for regulation. Part of that was to make this a seamless process that the CCAs would not be sending out separate bills to everyone. So you're going to see a line item on your bill. We're going to go through, I don't know if we have it on our one pager, but we'll definitely have future chats with with the community to make sure you understand your bill. But basically, you're going to see a line item on your bill for Pioneer Community Energy that will be for the generation portion of it, and then everything else on the bill will look like it was before.
And because I'm a Pioneer customer, I printed it out, and it's right on page 1 in the list of everything you're paying for here, what you're going to pay. And a lot of people here have signed up for discounts, so a low-income discount or a medical plan, that kind of thing. What happens to all of that?
Right, so very seamless. If you're on CARE, FARA, if you're on a specific program with PG&E, all that moves over. PG&E cannot say, I'm not going to honor you on the CARE, FARA, or some other program because you joined the CCA. Also, another common myth is that if you have an outage, PG&E is not going to put your lights back on because you joined Pioneer. That's absolutely not true. They would be in a lot of trouble for doing it, again, for other reasons. But yes, they cannot do that. So if you have outages at your house, continue to call PG&E. They come out there and fix it. It has no bearing whether you're part of the CCA or not.
And is there a difference between residential and commercial customers in terms of billing?
Absolutely not. So whatever you're going to have whatever you're going to be on different rate classes if you're commercial or residential. All those come over. What we do is apply the 12% generation discount, no matter the customer class, though. So there's no change to your customer class billing or any other portion.
And what I learned in a pre-conversation is, so you convert when your meter is read. That's the first day you become a Pioneer customer. And then your February bill will be the first bill that you see a Pioneer line on it with energy charges.
That's correct.
Okay.
So the billing works, all of you are on billing cycles, so that throughout the month, PG&E will have meter reading cycles where each working day of the month they're reading a certain set of meters in Grass Valley, and that's when you would convert over. So if it's January 7th, your meter is read, that's when you would be coming over to Pioneer, and as Cheryl pointed out, in February you'll start seeing those line items.
And then when you pay your bill, you pay it just as you always have to PG&E, and then it's all taken care of on the back end.
Right, so on the accounting side of it, you pay your bill, PG&E gets that, and then they transfer the portion that's owed to Pioneer.
And you'll get all your discounts and everything as you have. So do you need to be checking your bill to be sure you have all of that, or is it all handled?
So feel free to check your bill if you'd like, but it's we go through a pretty good auditing process with PG&E to make sure that is correct. But if you have questions, we have Gina, we have Lisa, myself, we're always happy to answer your questions and go through your bill.
And I was surprised to learn, and you can probably give us the number of solar households in Nevada City and Grass Valley. How does it work for those households?
Right, so we'll be launching we'll go through probably 4 launches this year with the solar customers to get close to your true update as possible. But for the solars, it's very seamless as well. So if you are a net consumer, you'll have the 12% discount that everyone else gets. If you're a net producer, then we'll pay you a half-cent premium over PG&E. So you win either way, and that's probably the most of the questions really come from the net energy metering folks. We have before Nevada City, Grass Valley, we have 40,000 NEM accounts already in our territory. So we've heard every question possible out there, and we're going to happy to answer all yours as well.
Yeah, so I know I heard a rumor that solar customers who went with Pioneer Energy would not get a true-up. That's incorrect. If you're a solar customer and you're a Pioneer Energy customer, you still get a true-up.
You get a true-up, and it will be...
And it's half a cent more.
Right, and a half cent more.
Okay.
And we'll send those checks out. And so just last March, we had 6,600 NEM customers that were producers, net producers, and we sent out around 1.2 million in checks.
It's a lot of money. That would pay for a cup of coffee. That's great. And so, talk about what kind of so we're talking about this being all very seamless. So most everybody who's going to be a Pioneer customer has gotten a lot of mailings. What other kinds of customer contact do you have?
So whatever channels are out there, we will be out there. So we're on social media, we're in the newspaper, we'll be we're updating our website, and the one I like the most is give us a call. You know, we'd love to talk to you. So the good old-fashioned way of communicating. But whatever channel is out there, and if I'm missing something, let us know, and we'll get on that channel.
So with the emphasis on things being automatic, because the cities of Grass Valley and Nevada City have done the heavy lifting for you and everything else is taken care of on the back end, would you ever call me and say, hey, you're a new customer, I need bank account information, or I need a credit card for your billing? Would you ever do anything like that?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, because it seems like, especially around the holidays, there's folks out there that will say, I'm with Pioneer, I need your credit card number. Yeah, don't listen to those folks. We don't take credit card information. And the reason why is we wouldn't, because all the billing is going through PG&E. So if you get any of those sorts of requests, please let us know as well. We want to take action on those and at least get our communities out there. But no, we do not take any sort of billing information. We're not going to be going door to door asking for any of your personal information at all.
Right, because you're not dealing with transmission or
Right.
distribution or any of those. You're just providing the electricity. Okay, good. And one of the issues in our community, of course, is PSPS events. So what role does Pioneer have in a PSPS event?
There's things we can do on that, and there's things we can't. So what we can't do is that we don't own the poles and the wires. So if PG&E decides to have a public safety power shutoff event, we can't stop that. But what we have done, and especially has been impactful in El Dorado County, is what we've seen in the last few years is that the number of those PSPS events have come down dramatically, but they've been replaced with what we call these shorter term, more frequent trips where power's being shut off, but maybe for 10, maybe for 15 minutes, but they're happening quite a bit, especially in El Dorado County. We've had that issue. What we've done is at the legislative and then moved over to the regulatory side of it is teamed up with Board Supervisor John Huddell in El Dorado County, for instance, and worked with our trade association, CalCCA, and we combined this with other CCAs who experienced the same issues to pressure the CPUC to put some sort of oversight on those fast trips. When the CPUC was pressured to put oversight on the PSPS events, I saw a lot of improvement in that. We're doing the same thing with these short trips. So we don't control the poles and wires to stop those events completely, but we do want to put some regulatory pressure where we can to at least make it better.
So if there is a PSPS and you have questions about it, you still contact PG&E directly, or OES, or
Correct. Yeah, you would contact PG&E directly, but also we'll get out information to all of you about the event as well. And yeah.
So, you know, we're in the middle of January already. There has been some transition. What kinds of questions are you mostly hearing from consumers at this stage?
Yeah, so most of the questions, honestly, most of the questions have been coming from Nevada County, upset that they can't join. But the questions we've just have been more general 101 for what is Pioneer, how do I understand my bill, and it's been really, up to this point, very, very positive feedback dealing with all of you. It's been more of 101 type questions of what is this, which is why I really appreciate this forum.
And will I save money is one I'm hearing about. And I want to come back to that for a minute because, you know, it was in the news the end of last year that PG&E was authorized pretty big rate increases as well. So we talked about earlier the average household will save 12% or $180 a year. But but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to spend less than they spent last year, right?
That's a great point. So, You know, year over year, the bill will be going up, even if your usage is the same. And that's because of all these other pressures on PG&E, especially on the transmission and distribution side of the bill. What we can say, though, is that sticking with Pioneer, you can at least have, you'll be better off than if you weren't with us.
So does that make sense to everybody? You'll still be paying less than you would have otherwise paid, but your rates could and likely will go up from what you paid last year. So that would kind of make sense. I'm going to open it up for one quick question here.
So, I live in the county. When is it going to be sometime this year that you may get your negotiations? Or is it going to kick over into 2025 or sometime way down the future?
So let me repeat that, and then we'll come back to some other questions here in a second. So you said that more of your questions are coming from county residents who say, you know, if I can save 12%, even if my rates do go up, that's a good deal. How do I get in? Mm-hmm. And you can't get in as an individual. You need the jurisdiction to say, okay. Right. So when do you think that, I mean, obviously a lot has to happen between here and then, but what would the timeline look like for those county conversations?
So I'll just kind of give you the high level timeline on this. I do anticipate we're going to have negotiations restart again with the county in probably spring of this year. Really, the first step is what we do is an impact assessment study. We'll look at rates where they're projected to be, and look at power supply costs to make sure that it makes sense financially. And then we would go through the administrative process with the board probably this fall. And if everything were to go well, we would submit then what we call an implementation plan to the CPUC saying that the county has decided to join. And then there's a 1-year wait, and that's CPUC has decided that, and that is because they want to give customers as well as the utilities a chance to transition. And so if everything were to go well this year, the county could then join as far as getting service from us in 2026. There's about a 1-year wait.
So it'll be a minute, is the bottom line to that, and there's a lot that they go through. And you talked about some of the rate studies, and the newspaper person in me wants to cycle back on this, right? Because you go in and you take a look at all the bills, and you go to the council and you say, it looks like we can save on average 12%. How does that loop get closed? Like at the end of the year, do you have to go back to the council and say, in fact, we did save 12%? Or do you go back to a state regulating agency? I mean, where's the accountability in these promises that are made?
Yeah, so we do have our financials are on our website. We also have monthly meetings, open forum meetings with our board, and we'll go through what we call a mid-year budget process, which is kind of a relook to see how we're doing on the discount and the savings, as well as the end of the year review with our board. So there is accountability for sure.
So, and this is probably a good segue to inviting Councilmember Ivy, but will he have an opportunity then, either in his board role or as a council person, to get that detailed information on a Grass Valley, you know, not an individual consumer, but Grass Valley as a whole, how much they saved?
Absolutely. At the end of the day, this is your utility. You're owned by, we are owned by you, and we report to the board that's elected by all of you. And I think with that, I'll hand this over to Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Well, and I just lost my mic. Go ahead and have a seat.
Okay.
So most of you know Tom, but Tom Ivy was born and raised in Nevada County. He graduated from Nevada Union High School, then attended UC Santa Cruz, where he earned a degree in environmental studies with a focus on agriculture. In 2008, Tom moved back home and started working in his family's plumbing business, which he continues to this day. He was appointed to the Grass Valley Planning Commission in 2018 and elected to the City Council in 2020. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So you're part of making this all happen for the community of Grass Valley. Why were you interested in Pioneer and making this move with the CCA?
That's a great question. There's a couple reasons there. And the first is that being born and raised here is relevant in so much as I've been scraping ice off my windshield in almost the same place, for 30 or 40 years now. And so, to be quite frank, I see climate change happening right here. And I lived in a place where we had to scrape our windshield 100 times a winter, and now I barely do it. And I believe in the science of it, and I believe in what it could do to our economy. And I love that I get to have an economy here and I get to live here. So it's a concern with me. And so I had heard about CCAs, and I started looking into it with our staff. We started looking at starting our own CCA. It's quite a tricky process, and maybe that's a little bit of a detail that we're glossing over. We're making it sound so easy here. Is that what we're talking about when we procure power? Isn't that we go to a store, that he goes to a single marketplace and just says, yes, let's do this. Is that we're constantly measuring in real time as a community how much it takes to power this community, and then he's trying to purchase that ahead of time as well as provide fail-safe. So it's a super tricky process, and that's something we explored with startup costs, ran in the tens of millions, I think. So it's really quickly that we noticed Pioneer, and we're excited to keep learning about Pioneer. And as well as this is not the only CCA that we reached out to and that we had some initial talks with. So it was quickly apparent that we're a match for a lot of reasons, that Pioneer really advocated that they appreciated that board support, that we have that voice, and that's strong, right? We're not the biggest part of the pie in Pioneer's puzzle, and we wouldn't be in any CCA in California, right? So it's really attractive that we get to have that community voice with Pioneer. Culturally, we're a string of similar communities in the foothills. To make a long story short, Pioneer quickly was a fit. We really liked that they focused on savings as much as providing green energy. A lot of the great CCAs on the coast, their first and main mandate is to be 100% green energy, and that's great as well. But we're representing everyone here, right? And so we're going to start by pairing savings with green energy.
Yeah, so there's roughly 100-ish CCAs in the state, is that right?
Sorry, thank you. So there's right now about 24 CCAs, but they represent 200 communities.
Okay.
And I would say with PG&E right now, over 50% of their load now is served by a CCA.
Okay, yeah, thank you for getting those numbers. I obviously had that way wrong. So Tom, so you've been working on this for years, right? At least a couple of years.
That's right.
Longer?
Right. We started looking into it about in the spring of 2020 when I came into office.
Okay.
And
yeah, so just about the time Dawn came, so a little bit of a parallel there to Pioneer, and you looked at other CCAs and quickly came to Pioneer. They're fit, they're operating well in other foothill communities, and then they have this structure that Dawn talked about, and you just did as well, that every community gets a board seat. And the way they're structured, every community gets a board seat with an equal voting member, so that kind of benefits a smaller community like Grass Valley, right? And you agree to go on their board. You have a lot of people who want your time. Why'd you agree to this one?
It's a great question. It's I passionately sought it out. Yeah, I wanted it. It's such a part of our life, right? We don't talk about it, but it is everything. And we saw that during PSPS, is how much it really affects us when we don't have electricity. And how much of a tool it can be. I can't wait to talk to a lot of the small, really cool programs that we'll be rolling out over the upcoming years. Bringing biomass to town, hopefully, subsidizing home batteries, hopefully. There's some really cool little things, but it's important to us all. And I wanted to take part in that. It's not the sexiest topic to talk about, right? we could help put you to sleep sometimes talking about details of electricity, but it's so important. So I really went for it. And, you know, I'm honored that last night I was voted to be the vice chair of board of directors for Pioneer after, you know, only a year. So I was surprised, you know, but I look forward to being an active participant in anything I do. And so it was fun to get to take on even a little bit bigger role.
So that really speaks to your voice and knowledge of this, but also Grass Valley's, right? Ability to shape and move things towards the future. So we spent a little bit of time talking about some of the programs, the discount programs that already exist, the CARE program, those kinds of things. But are there other discount programs at the Pioneer level that you have, you know, the Pioneer Energy offers that you have your eyes on?
Well, that's, I'm not sure. There may be some discount programs. We're actively talking about rolling out, because we still are somewhat of a young organization. We're rolling out, I think, like any day now, discount LED light bulbs in town. We're looking at a program that helps facilitate a private marketplace that gives you options for updating your home technology or updating your business technology. I'm not sure that the board's approved it, so.
Yeah, let me let Dawn talk a little bit about that too. And also, Dawn, if you could tell us how that will work, right? Because now I don't get a separate bill from you, so now you're going to give me a discount. What the heck? How does that all come together?
Yeah, so we commit to about $2 million right now a year in what we call energy efficiency programs, like Councilmember Ivy was talking about. We look forward over the next 2-3 months looking at these programs. So like the light bulb program, you don't have to be a Pioneer customer to be part of that, but it's about getting out there in the community, having a logo in your local stores. But we're also looking at, over the next 2 months, this is not 2 years out, this is in the next couple of months, a marketplace to come to our website. So if you're looking at a solar system, or you're looking at some sort of a energy efficiency program, there's a lot of bad players out there. And you could come to our website. We're going to do the hard work for you to vet those out and help you get the best system for your house as possible, as well as looking at solar plus storage, batteries that would really help you with grid resiliency, and I think will also save you some money, but it's part of being part of Pioneer and giving back to the community. Again, you're our shareholders.
And so if you get a discount, you know, if there is an additional discount, how do I know that I'm getting it? What will it look like, the billing mechanism or the rebate mechanism? What does that look like? Yeah,
so the billing mechanism will be the same. If you're part of these certain programs, it will be more of an arrangement between us and that customer, but nothing will change as far as the 12% discount or the billing with PG&E.
And we didn't really get into this, and I should have before we transitioned, but on your PG&E bill, several pages in for my bill, since I'm a Pioneer customer, it's on page 7, but there's Pioneer Energy and all the details that come on the Pioneer Energy bill. So that is transparent to customers at an individual level.
It is.
And it will be here as well.
Absolutely. So when you go through your bill, you'll be able to see how the 12% is discounted. And if you can't figure it out, give us a call. We're happy to walk you through that.
Great. And so, Tom, what kind of feedback are you getting at this stage? Are you getting a lot of who the heck is Pioneer? Or are you getting a lot of thanks for doing this? Or are you getting a lot of how does it work? Sorry, Dorian, I keep doing that. I apologize.
Yeah, that's right. I'm getting
a lot of all of that.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of all of it. Generally, I think it's not as new of a thing, maybe as it once was. I think folks are cautiously optimistic, and there's definitely some questions. You know, it doesn't help that we think of Grass Valley and Nevada City for miles outside the official city limits, right? So therein lies most of the confusion, but in general, I think cautious optimism, and I've gotten a few questions about, well, how do I actually call or get in touch and And I Google it with them, really.
And so if I wanted to look at a map of whether or not my house is included, where would I go? And either one of you can take that question.
Well, the easiest and oldest rule of thumb is if you have a 3-digit address versus a 5-digit address. That's not strictly true every time, but it mostly still is. And then other than that, you can go to the City of Grass Valley, the City of Nevada City website, and you can look at those hard boundaries. And I bet there's other ways too.
Right, you could check on our website or give us a call if you're confused on that.
Okay. And I wasn't going to take questions, but I'm seeing hands up, so let me do that. Terry?
So I'm interested in, Tom, you talking about the green energy program. I didn't understand that at all, of why you went into this because of the green. And the second part of the question is, I also come away not understanding, I thought PG&E generates most of the power. So you're buying the power from PG&E, or are there other who else is in the generation business that you're procuring?
Well, the generation business, and I'll hand this over real quick, is wide and varied. And it comes from all over the place. And PG&E mostly does not generate electricity anymore.
They're already doing this aggregation.
Right. That's.
At the best market already, right?
Go ahead, Don.
Either way.
Yeah.
Right, so first part of your question though, on the green energy. So one of the reasons our rates are competitive is that we have two options on billing. So if you want to have less green energy in your bill, because more green adds cost, we have option 1, which is the 12% discount. Option 2 though is if you want to choose to have 100% green energy, meaning all the electrons are being from solar or small hydro, whatever. We also have that option. It's called Green 100 that you can opt up. It's your choice. That's also cheaper than PG&E. And as far as the generation side of it goes, PG&E has actually been paring back its generation because it's lost so much load to CCAs. And we're out there working with project developers all throughout the state. And how it works is that the electrons that right now are putting the lights on in this building, I don't know where those are coming from. California ISO, we get the energy on the grid, and California ISO are the air traffic controllers to decide what powers up this building or that building, et cetera, your home. Our job is to make sure that we're procuring the best and cheapest power possible, get that on the grid, and then California ISO takes it from there. But we procure our own energy.
And I want to go back over that again with a little bit different language. So PG&E is buying electricity in most cases. So is Pioneer.
Correct.
Because PG&E, and this is what we got earlier from Dawn, because PG&E has higher overhead prices than Pioneer, because they entered into some long-term contracts when prices were higher than energy prices are now, they are locked into a higher pricing schedule. Legitimately, right? I mean, they're not doing anything wrong. It's just legitimately a higher price. So that logic that I was talking about earlier, if you buy more, it will be cheaper, is actually not working in a CCA environment. What's working in a CCA environment is the ability to be nimble and buy from a variety of different providers. Did I?
Well said.
Okay, did I say that all right? So Terry, does that make sense?
Much better. And the green part, I appreciate understanding that.
Yeah, and
But let's take the green step one step further. The fact of the matter is if you can't afford to change your habits, you're not going to change your habits, right? If we can't afford to do everything that we want to do in life, we're not going to level up our climate change efforts, right? So the first step that we can do to prepare for the future is make everything function as best as possible. Give us every tool in the chest for tomorrow. And that's what is great about Pioneer, is that we have that representation, that they're sourcing power from this district, that they're keeping more dollars in this region. And that puts our economy in a position to say, yeah, let's face climate change tomorrow. And that is just as important as, maybe not just as important, but it's also important when we're next to the choice of buying 100% renewable power.
And if I could just add to that, so an example would be, first thing that we did with El Dorado County was do a long-term power purchase agreement with El Dorado Irrigation District. We want to do the same with Nevada irrigation district when things work out with the county and move forward. We source with the biomass plant that we have in Placer. So we want to look first at projects that are in our service territory. And we just actually launched what we call a feed-in tariff that will support biomass or small hydro projects in our territory that are small projects that we're willing to pay a little bit of a premium for. That's still cheaper than PG&E, but encourages local jobs and local projects.
Okay, and sir, I'm going to go to you next.
Yeah, so I've got two questions. First off, how do you differ or how are you similar to Truckee Donner Utilities? And the second question is, PG&E is a great company. And they're obviously going to be hit by all these CCAs. They're going to have issues with their revenue going down. They have shareholders they have to represent, and they have to show improvements in their cost models and revenue. How is this going to impact them? Are we going to see higher pricing on utility management, on distribution? Are we going to see a billing rate coming up from PG&E that isn't going through regulation? What sort of regulation is covering what they're charging? How is this going to impact?
Yeah, so just first question is on how are we different, let's say, from Truckee Donner. So Truckee Donner, like Roseville Electric or like Sacramento Municipal Utility District or SMUD, there are public power utilities. They're owned by those communities. We're not going to compete with them. The difference being, though, is with the Roseville Electric, for instance, is they also have their transmission, their distribution, their customer service. They're more of a vertically integrated utility where we're looking at one portion of the bill. Another huge difference would be that, let's say you're in Roseville Electric and the rates go up and you don't like it, you basically have to move out of the city. With us, it's a 90-second process to opt out if you don't like what we're doing. So that's, hopefully I've answered your question on the difference there. We're not competing with other public power utilities. It's strictly with PG&E, SoCal Edison, and San Diego Gas and Electric. On the second portion.
Can I interrupt for a second? Because I want to restate that, because I do think that this is a very confusing subject, and there's a lot of information that we're throwing at you here. But again, remember that we are talking about one portion of your monthly household energy bill. That's all they're doing. And so the public power companies generally have that entire portion. And again, I'm being general about it.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, go ahead.
Great summary. And I think on the second question regarding the regulations, so that's a very interesting topic you brought up, because technically, they're not, investor-owned utilities are not supposed to make money on the generation side of the business. So when this was taken away from them, this is part of the business that they would be willing to not fight as strongly about, because technically they're not making money on the fuel purchase power part of the business. But to your point is, if the CCAs are coming in and they're losing the revenue from generation, are they just making up for it on T&D? The answer is not the case. They have to go through a rates proceeding on the generation side that basically says they're not supposed to be making money on that portion of it, but all the money they're making is on the transmission and distribution side. So we have some, for instance, Roseville Electric versus Rockland right next to each other. Some businesses move across the street and they can save quite a bit of money with Roseville Electric T&D versus being in Rockland, but Rockland would say, well, why can't I do that? That's the portion of the business PG&E is not willing to sell, because that's where they make their revenue and their return on equity for their shareholders. San Francisco has right now $2 billion on the table wanting to buy the system from PG&E, and they can't get a return phone call. So hopefully I answered your question there.
So we are actually at the 1 hour stage, and both of these guys have agreed to stick around a little bit longer and answer some questions. Please help me thank them for coming today.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
So our next forum is going to be on February 23rd. If you want to mark your calendars, we'll be talking with Natalie Adana out of the elections office about elections in Nevada County.